They try to set my boy David Morrell Jr. up. Let's go. Your boy Ego gonna talk about it. Morrell versus Khataev. What really happened? Now, this is not gonna be that long, but I got some thoughts. I got y'all. Now, the reason I say they try to set my boy David Morrell up is because I didn't like how things played out. First of all, you have Morrell, who's coming off of a loss. You see, Turkey has these ideas and visions for, oh, I want my league and I want Ring and Riyadh events to look a certain way. But I'm telling you, and I've said it from the beginning, a lot of people in boxing media, they are cowards. They are either looking for the gravy train, so they don't want to say these things because they feel like they would not be able to like get flown out or whatever, but they're not keeping it real. And I'm seeing it all throughout boxing, but I got to keep it real on my channel. I can't speak for no one else. Other people are so, like I said, it's like they want to get flown out or they're taking like under the table deals or whatever. So they have to report a certain way. We don't do that. You know, I got to keep it real on my channel that I built from the ground up. And I think they set Morrell up. He coming off a loss to David Benavidez. That was a very hard fought fight. Why would your first fight back be some knockout artist from Russia who popped dirty and failed a drug test? Now, you could argue, oh, it was fight week and they didn't know he had popped dirty. So that's fair. We didn't know that the dude popped dirty, but still, some brolic Russian dude who's like 10-0 with 9 knockouts, that's your comeback fight coming off of a loss. I didn't really like the optics of that. And then if you follow me, I told you, I definitely, once it came out during fight week before the fight that he had popped dirty last year, right? And we're just now finding out about it. He got banned, and then the commission, because some paperwork wasn't submitted properly, they said, oh, we're still going to allow them to fight. So probably somebody got paid off, and you got to blame David Morrell and his team as well, because they knew this and they didn't make a bigger fuss and they decided to continue fighting. But fighters would not want me as their representative or manager, because these fighters can be dumb and naive where I know so many fighters, and I'm not saying it to shade them, but what happens is these fighters don't have fear. They're fearless, and they're like, this guy can't beat me. No one can beat me, blah, blah, blah. So they go around, and even if it's not realistic, they put themselves in compromising situations. Like, I remember Keith Thurman literally told Manny Pacquiao that he doesn't care if he doesn't do VADA and he does steroids. Like, who does that? And then in the first round, he's getting dropped. Now, I'm not saying Manny Pacquiao was on steroids when he did it. I'm just saying, why would you even say that? Why would you openly say, I want to fight you and don't care if you're juicing? You know what I mean? Why would you, if I had a fighter that I represented and this whole news came out that they had an unresolved drug test failed that got flagged and it just came to light, my fighter is not fighting that person. I don't care what you're talking about. You just gonna have to be disappointed and find me a new opponent. You know what I mean? Find my fighter a new opponent. So I didn't like that from the beginning. Now, David Morrell, some people, they're screaming robbery. It wasn't no robbery. Khataev, see, this is the thing. A lot of people don't know boxing. They don't know how to score boxing. They don't even score boxing. They just go off of emotions and how they felt at the end of the fight. Oh, I felt Khataev won. They literally had somebody on DAZN, I believe it was Mike Coppinger, and he said he didn't even score the fight, but Khataev won. How can you say Khataev won, but you openly admitted you didn't score the fight? How dumb is that? I didn't even score the fight, but I'm telling you who won. It's crazy. DAZN has literally the worst commentary in all of boxing, for sure. You know, to make statements like that. Then they had another fight with Puello, and Matias, they announced Matias's next fight is Dalton Smith some kind of way, and Matias has a cut over his eye, and the DAZN commentators are talking about he'll be good by November. You're not a doctor. You didn't stitch him up. How you know? How you know his cut will be healed and ready to go by November? We're almost to August right now. That November is not too far away. You know what I mean? So DAZN commentary was horrible. That's the bad and the ugly. They were horrible, and they were super biased for the Morrell Khataev fight. All we heard, even in the first round, they were like, Khataev, oh, he's in control of the fight. In the first round, he's in control of the fight? Like, it was just ridiculous. It was like, are we even watching the same fight? Morrell was doing some nice things in there, and all they were talking about was Khataev. And I think that fanboyism and that emotional, over-the-top style of commentary is just not for me, right? Because my commentary is realistic. What I say during the fight, early rounds, mid rounds, late rounds, the actual conclusion of the fight matches what I've been telling you has been happening. But a lot of these commentary crews, they'll make it sound like one person is winning or what they want to be the case. And then by the end of the fight, you're like, hey, I thought you said this guy was winning the whole fight. You know what I mean? And then now, because they spent so much time harping on it, they're like, did David Morrell win? They're putting polls up. The fans voted. I don't care what the fans who voted on Twitter think. A lot of these dudes go off of emotion. They might have stepped out and didn't watch certain rounds. They might have listened to the commentary. You know what I mean? And that's what corrupts certain people who are basically susceptible to it. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't fully know boxing and get it and know what you're looking at yourself, then you might be impressionable and be like, oh yeah, I agree. You know what I mean? Because you don't really know what you're looking at. But it was a good fight. It was a competitive fight. It was a close fight. Morrell even got dropped. And I'm not saying Morrell fought a perfect fight. I've said this from the beginning. Morrell is a young and brash fighter, and sometimes the way he chooses to fight is reckless and is super dangerous. And against the lower tier people, you can kind of get away with it a little bit more, but it's always fighters like that, unless you're like God tier, like Roy Jones Jr. in his prime. It always scares me when the fighters get a little bit too cocky, because you're really playing with fire. And it made me mad watching how Morrell was fighting at points, because like round 5 was a great round for Morrell, and then he starts showboating a lot, dancing and looking at the crowd and taunting and moonwalking, you know, doing all this extra jazz. And then Khataev, while you doing all that, he's trying to win and he's punching, and he clips Morrell, and Morrell got dropped. First time ever in his pro career. So I feel like it's just like, why give somebody that? Like, you've been winning. That's why you have to stay focused in boxing, right? It's a 3-minute round and you've been winning 2 minutes and 50 seconds of it. You're literally, because you choose to clown around and horseplay and not fully be in control or paying attention or whatever, you literally potentially give yourself a loss of a round in round 10, like, you know what I mean, a 10-8 round off of that. I don't know. So that part was bothering me. But Morrell got it together, and as the fight progressed, he started putting paws on Khataev, and Khataev, who hadn't really went the full championship rounds, it showed. You know, so it was a good learning lesson for Khataev. I think Morrell would cost, just because you get one knockdown, that don't mean you lose the fight, right? Manny Pacquiao knocked down Marquez 3 times in round 1, and they fought to a draw. You know what I mean? So one knockdown, especially early in the fight, is not really the end all be all. Morrell, I thought he won the fight. I thought he could have done certain things better, like not play around, not fight so dangerous early on, box a bit more. And you even heard it from Ronnie Shields. Ronnie Shields is an underrated and great coach, but he was playing around a little too much for my liking without being in full control against a dangerous guy who was really coming. And he had that brolic, like compact type of frame. So Morrell was just playing with fire too much. But I do like his resolve, and I like what he did in the championship rounds. Rounds 10, 11, definitely 12. He was lighting up Khataev, and it looked like he might have, if it was a 12-rounder, I think he might have stopped Khataev because it looked like he was figuring him out, and Khataev was super tired, and he was dropping his hands throughout the fight, and Morrell was just like laser beaming on him. So both guys fought good, but I hated the commentary. And the commentary, they went out of their way to not really illustrate and illuminate the fact that this dude failed a drug test. And they kept talking about how it was a robbery. So for me, I really can't give Khataev all this credit about like, oh, you did good, because you have this whole drug test flag that is really unresolved. It's never been explained. You've never had to explain. You just kind of got off on a technicality, and everybody wants to bypass that. So that was the bad. I think it was the fight. It was the best fight on the card, because the Shiraz fight was not a good fight up until the 4th round where he knocked down Berlanga, and in the 5th round he stopped him. But it wasn't a good fight. It was like pretty boring for the first 3 rounds until the knockdown. So best fight on the card was definitely Morrell Khataev. It was also very competitive. Shakur fight, I have a what really happened coming. Make sure you guys check that on the channel. Subscribe for more boxing.